In this tutorial I'm going to demonstrate how to do a zone of interest by specifying a bounding box. So I have done a baseline run for this particular tile in Colombia, and we can, for instance, have a look at results to go to an area of interest. Let's have a look at the water balance. And so this is showing me the baseline water balance for this particular tile. And on the right here we have the option for regions of interest. So if I click on that, a new window will open. And under here we have the usual options, so we can do points of interest from existing, or we can put in coordinates, or we can do zones of interest. And the latest option here is to do a zone of interest by specifying a bounding box. So if I click on the plus minus here, we can see that we can define a box by giving in the coordinates for the latitude and longitude, and that will specify our zone of interest. So I'm just going to call this zone of interest 1, for instance. And the coordinates that are in here by default are the coordinates of the tile. So this is the full tile, but obviously we would like to zoom into an area. So you can either type in coordinates of a box that you know the coordinates of, or we can have a look at the map and specify an area of interest. So to get the coordinates, I'm going to click on the View in Google Maps icon. So I can look at the map and get the coordinates for an area of interest. Let's pick an area. So I'm going to zoom in. For instance, let's look at this very high water balance here. Now the coordinates that we need to know are the top left, bottom right coordinates. So if I want to draw a box, say around here, I'll start here at the top left, my latitude of 3.180, and I can just copy these over. Upper left latitudes and the longitude. Copy that here. And then if I move crosshair over here, so I can draw a box around there. I can copy over the latitude for the lower right and do the same for the longitude. And if I then click submit, and the system will set up this zone of interest, and we can have a look at it by clicking on the display in GeoBrowse, and that should refresh this window. And there you go, there's our bounding box, and we can have a look and see if it's in the right place by looking at View in Google Maps. And there you go, that looks about right. And so now we can start using this bounding box in our results. So if I close all this, I can go back into the water balance map, and we can now get the statistics for our zone of interest bounding box. So this is the name that we gave to the bounding box, and these are the statistics. We can also do the view by function. So if I click on this, all zones of interest should appear here as well. So if I click on this, I see all the maps that I can use to do view by, and that includes my zone of interest. And that will aggregate the values of the water balance for that particular area. So 6,489 is the mean over our area there. And what we can also do is mask our water balance map with our area of interest. So if I click on mask by, I can mask by any of those maps, including my zone of interest map. And the only thing I need to do now is set the value. So if I would leave this to 0, then it would obviously include the whole map, because the value for our area of interest is 1. So if I set the value here to 1, click on check and submit, then our map is masked with that small area of interest that we defined, and we can then view it like so in our Google Maps window as well. And so you can either use your own coordinates for a box, or you can define them like we've just done in this tutorial. I hope that was useful.